Diego Lopes either knocking Volkanovski out or potentially putting him in a submission, bro.
He's well-rounded. He's got obviously a great grappling game. He is aggressive. I'm sure he's thinking he's just going to catch me and then that's it. And he's got every right to think that. But my experience will definitely shine in this one.
And I love Diego Lopes. I mean, I love his style. He's ultra aggressive, very fun to watch, and just a good kid, good personality. So I'm definitely glued to this one. I can't wait to see it.
I probably lean a little bit closer, more towards Volk, just because we've seen the ability. Just the ability. Certain things that I've seen will be a problem for anybody.
But I don't think that Volkanovski has to fight better than he's ever fought to beat Diego Lopes. I think Diego Lopes has to fight the best fight he's ever fought and show us some new wrinkles, show us a little bit more out of his game plan. If he's able to do that, I can see how Diego wins this fight. And if he wins this fight, 100% it's by a first round or a second round finish. But every bit of me is telling me that Volkanovski is going to be the world champion again. We're going to see one more run for the man down under.
With just a few days left in the UFC 314, the excitement is increasing among the fans for the main event, where Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes will compete for the vacant featherweight title. This highly anticipated fight will take place in Miami on April 12th. The MMA pros have also shared their final predictions for this clash, which is expected to be a thriller. Former UFC champion Jamahal Hill praised the skills and dynamic striking of Diego Lopes. He feels that Lopes can beat anyone with his striking, but Alexander Volkanovski is not an easy opponent. Jamahal Hill said Volkanovski has proven himself against the top fighters, and it won't be easy for Diego Lopes to catch him, so he predicts Alexander Volkanovski will have the upper hand against Diego Lopes.
Lopes is dynamic. He's super dynamic. He has the ability to go out and get a win over just about anybody, you know. So it's hard to count against that. But Volk, I probably lean a little bit closer, more towards Volk, just because we've seen the ability. Just the ability. Certain things that I've seen will be a problem for anybody. And if you haven't really been on point and fought against guys that are at that level, you know what I mean? Like that, don't be wrong. Diego has shown that he's completely 100% dynamic. He's capable of a lot of great things. But the adjustments that Volk has been able to make, and then the puzzles that he's been able to present throughout his career, I believe will kind of make me lean towards that.
Undefeated featherweight contender Lerone Murphy shared his thoughts about this fight, as he is also on the line for a title fight. He will be keeping a close eye on what goes down between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes in the main event of UFC 314. Lerone Murphy said he has an idea of what could go down at the Kaseya Center in Miami. Murphy said at a post-fight news conference, "I think it's a great fight. I think they're both top fighters, both exciting fighters, two very high-level competitors, but I think maybe I can see Volk winning late rounds with the cardio and the experience, but who knows? Diego's young and hungry, and he's been on a tear lately." The former UFC champion Robert Whittaker talked about the importance of having good momentum in MMA. He thinks winning the fights is important to boost your confidence, and he feels Diego Lopes is in the perfect position right now. He thinks Lopes is a good fighter, and with the kind of form he is in at the moment, Diego can be a huge threat to Volkanovski. Robert Whittaker said during a podcast, "I feel like Conor McGregor is a big example of that, of a fighter having good momentum when he was just running through people. Alex Pereira as well before his last fight. Right now, Diego Lopes is running that train. He put a beating on Ortega, okay? Seriously, that was brutal, bro. It was hard to watch. But Diego's in a very dangerous form right now, okay?" Whittaker also spoke about the chances of Alexander Volkanovski against the Brazilian fighter. He thinks Volkanovski can beat anyone with his skills and fighting IQ, but everything will depend on the form of the former champion. Robert Whittaker added, "Volk, I think, beats Diego Lopes. Like, Volk's skill set and just his composure, his toughness, his grit, his fight IQ, his ability to fight in the octagon is second to none. Okay, he's amazing, but again, with all the other factors we looked into, which Volk do we see?" Furthermore, Corey Sandhagen picked Alexander Volkanovski to win this fight, but he didn't rule out the chances of Diego Lopes as well. The UFC bantamweight fighter thinks Diego Lopes has a definite chance to beat Volkanovski. He chose Lopes striking over Volkanovski's striking, but he still feels the former featherweight champion will get back his belt at UFC 314.
Yeah, damn, these are some good fights coming up. Let's go with probably Volk will win that one, but I definitely think Lopes has a really good chance. I think Volk needs to wrestle Lopes if he wants to win, because, you know, not that Volk's a bad striker or anything, but I think that Lopes is a very good, dangerous striker.
Former UFC double champion Henry Cejudo feels the previous seemingly unbeatable version of Alexander Volkanovski is dead and buried. He feels Diego Lopes can easily beat this version of Volkanovski. According to Triple C, if Volkanovski manages to fight even a little bit like he did in his prime days, then the fight will be over for Diego Lopes. Henry Cejudo stated, "I don't think it's the same Volk. I personally think Diego Lopes is gonna beat him. I really do. But if Volkanovski does get it done, he gets it done. It's not Ilia Topuria that he's going to have to beat." Jan Blachowicz is also confident that Alexander Volkanovski will once again become the featherweight champion. The former UFC champion believes that Volkanovski will beat Diego Lopes at UFC 314.
You know, I like Volkanovski, so I'm gonna, hold fingers for him.
On the contrary, Jose Delgado backs Diego Lopes to create history on April 12th. He knows that Volkanovski is a tough and experienced fighter, but Jose is confident that Diego Lopes will surprise everyone on Saturday night. Jose Delgado said, "On paper, Volkanovski still has all the advantages, but I think this one comes down to the bigger dream. Right now, I think that's Lopes. He wants it bad, and I think he can get it done." Meanwhile, the UFC welterweight fighter Jeff Nail knows that it won't be easy to beat a young talent like Diego Lopes, who would be searching for his maiden UFC title. However, Nail still chose to go with the experience of Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 314.
Heart says Volkanovski, but you know what I mean? This is a young dude, and like he got his title shot out of nowhere, so like he might be coming out for blood, but I'm gonna roll with Alexander.
The UFC lightweight fighter Chase Hooper also shared his thoughts about this matchup. He liked the strategy of Alexander Volkanovski to take a break after those forgettable performances against Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. Hooper also likes the style of Diego Lopes, and he wants him to win at UFC 314. However, the lightweight fighter thinks it won't be easy for him to tackle Volkanovski, and the former champion has a greater chance to win.
That's another hard one too. It's like we don't know what Volk's chin's looking like after, the Islam knockout and the Topuria knockout. But it seems like he's doing the right thing, taking some time off. Lopes is just such an unknown, and I want to see Lopes get the win, but I think it's going to be hard against Volk. I think Volk's going to do it.
However, Eddie Cha has a different opinion as he backs Diego Lopes to get the job done against the out-of-form Alexander Volkanovski. According to Eddie, despite being a great featherweight, it is still not easy to come back after facing two brutal knockouts. He thinks Diego Lopes should take advantage of this situation and win the belt by putting pressure on the former champion. Eddie Cha stated, "Diego's power is phenomenal. I think he's on fire and has a great team. That being said, coming off 3 losses with 2 knockouts is tough. I know he was one of the best featherweights of all time, but we'll see how Volkanovski comes back. Those 3 losses with 2 knockouts have to mess with your confidence. So, I like Diego." The UFC featherweight fighter Christian Rodriguez has picked Alexander Volkanovski to get his hand raised on April 12th. Christian acknowledged the skills and experience of Volkanovski, and he even blamed the timeline for his defeats against Islam and Topuria. Rodriguez said that Volkanovski is a very tough fighter, and it's hard to go against him.
I think Volk wins it. I think when he fought Islam and Ilia, I think they were bad timing. Not taking credit away from Ilia. I think he's one of my favorite fighters. But I think that whole timeline thing kind of messed things up, and people are really cutting out. It's crazy because sometimes you lose 2 fights and people are like, "Damn, he's washed up. He's done. Mm-hmm. But I have Volk. I think Volk's very experienced, very tough, and I think he pushes the gas towards the end of the rounds, like the later rounds, and he's very durable. The people he's lost to are one of the hardest hitting fighters in the planet,
On the other hand, Chepe Mariscal picks Diego Lopes to beat the former featherweight champion in their upcoming clash. The UFC featherweight fighter likes the passion and consistency of Lopes. He feels that the Brazilian fighter is always ready to fight anyone, and he never says no to a fight. Mariscal is confident that Lopes will make sure to extend the losing streak of Volkanovski on Saturday night.
Man, I got Diego Lopes on that fight. I like what he's been doing. He hasn't said no to no opponent. He's been saying yes, and he's staying consistent. You can see that he's been just busy, and putting out people that, have names, and he said no. I mean, he said yes to a very short notice fight against Dan Ige. Like, man, that, like, a guy like that, they deserve fights like that, and he obviously got the right window at this time, and he's fighting a Volk, a very, probably, a whole new Volk, because he's like on a losing streak, or, he takes out Volk and probably tries to retire him,
Moreover, Brendan Moreno's coach, Saif Saud, is very excited for their fight. He said it will be interesting to see how Diego Lopes approaches this fight and showcases his skills inside the octagon. According to Saud, Lopes is a very skilled and tough fighter who has the ability to defeat any fighter on his day. Saif Saud said, "I think that's a huge fight, and I think that Diego is so tough and so dangerous, and I have said this. He has got energy about him, and he just believes in himself. And I mean, he has looked like he has gotten a little bit sloppy at times. And then I saw the Ortega fight. He had cleaned up his boxing, and he was really slick and really patient, like he is a beast on the ground." Saif Saud then shares his thoughts about Alexander Volkanovski and calls him a legend of this division. He admits that despite Diego Lopes' remarkable performances in recent times, no one should underestimate a guy like Alexander Volkanovski.
Then you got Volk, the man, one of the legends of the sport, such a smart and incredible fight IQ. Him and Joe Lopez put together very smart game plans. Really study and break down their opponents, and I'm sure they're going to be looking for all those weaknesses. So can Diego shore up his defensive liabilities and really be smart? He's a horse, a lot of horsepower to deal with on the floor or standing. And what is Volk going to do? How is his body holding up? How is his chin feeling? I think that Volk is, I don't think you can discount Volk at all.
Saif further said that the form of Volkanovski will play a huge role in deciding the winner of this fight. According to the veteran coach, if the former champion is in good shape, then things will get interesting at UFC 314.
I think that he's very viable, and we have to really see how this one goes as far as the physicality goes between the two of them. But Volk was doing good against Ilya too. I mean, he's very smart, and if he can get in his rhythm, it's going to be interesting.
Julian Erosa is also excited to see Diego Lopes' strategy for a 5-round fight. He further emphasized the importance of cardio in a fight. Julian Erosa also picked the former champion over Diego Lopes just because of Volkanovski's better cardio. Julian Erosa said, "I think it'll be interesting to see how Diego Lopes does in a 5-round fight. He got a little gassed when he fought Dan Ige, who took the fight on short notice. So I think Volkanovski will take it, mainly because of his cardio." Meanwhile, Cody Brundage doesn't agree with Julian Erosa as he predicts Diego Lopes to become the new featherweight champion at UFC 314. He said this is a fight between a young and experienced fighter, and Cody chose to go with the fresh blood. According to the middleweight fighter, Volkanovski is getting older, and it will be difficult for him to tackle the speed and powerful strikes of Diego Lopes.
Again, I think this is a case, of youth versus vet, and Diego's riding a huge wave of momentum. I think Diego will get it done. He's a big dude at 145. He hits hard. He can grapple very well, kind of eliminate the threat of the wrestling from Volk, because he has such an active guard that I feel like he'll be able to get back to his feet if he does get taken down. Volk's a beast. You can never count him out, but he is getting older. There's a reason that I forget the stat, but it's like some crazy stat that if you're over 35, you have never won a belt at 145 or something like that, or lower, or 145 or lower. So I think there's a reason for that, and I think Diego gets it done.
Another UFC middleweight fighter, Gerald Meerschaert, shared his verdict for the main event of UFC 314. Gerald is pretty confident that Alexander Volkanovski will easily beat Diego Lopes in their highly anticipated showdown.
I'd still go with Volkanovski. Diego Lopes is good, but it's hard to bet against Volk. We'll see in this one if he's really quote unquote past his prime, but I think he still gets it done.
Similarly, Luis Garule also thinks that Alexander Volkanovski has the upper hand in this upcoming title shot fight. Luis also thinks that this will be a close fight as Diego Lopes is not an easy opponent. However, the flyweight fighter is confident that Volkanovski will get back his belt on April 12th.
That one's a tougher one, but I think Volk gets it out. Volk's a veteran. He's been there time and time again. And he's so fucking good. But I'm almost so biased because Volk's like always the shorter, smaller guy in a lot of his matchups. So I take a lot of my stuff from Volk. So I love him. But Lopes is dangerous. So I think if Volk still has his chin, I think it goes Volk's way.
The UFC bantamweight fighter Mario Bautista has predicted a victory in the final via a decision in favor of Alexander Volkanovski. He believes it's a tough matchup, but the former champion will somehow get the job done and regain his title.
Oh, that's a tough one. You know, I have Volkanovski in that one. I think in the later rounds, if he doesn't get clipped or anything, I have him winning probably at the later stages of that fight and probably a decision.
However, Marion Santos talked about the importance of winning momentum and how it will help Diego Lopes beat Alexander Volkanovski. He even thinks that Volkanovski is not looking in great touch, and by adding the age factor, Diego Lopes has more chances to claim the featherweight title at UFC 314.
And I'm gonna go with Diego. I think he has the momentum and he has everything, all the tools to win. Heavy hands, good ground game, and it's not a good moment for Volkanovski. There's the age too, and I'm gonna go with Diego.
Similarly, Pedro Falcao backs Diego Lopes to claim his maiden featherweight title at UFC 314. The UFC bantamweight fighter feels that the Brazilian fighter is in the best position to beat the former champion on this upcoming Saturday night. Pedro also acknowledged the achievements of Volkanovski in the featherweight division, but he feels he has passed his prime, and now it's time for the fresh bloods to dominate this division.
I think Diego is in the best position right now, so confident. Great shape. I think in his moment, you know, to shine. And I know Volk is very, very, very tough opponent for sure. It's like he fought the best guys in this division. But I think Diego's in his prime, you know. And I trained with Diego a couple times. I think last Saturday we have some session. We trained together and he looks so good. So strong and big for this division, you know. And Diego have like strong hands and very good jiu-jitsu, you know. It doesn't matter on bottom, on top. He has a very good jiu-jitsu.
The UFC bantamweight fighter Vince Morales also praised the striking and jiu-jitsu of Diego Lopes and backed him to win the featherweight belt. He is excited to see this epic showdown between Volkanovski and Lopes and will be cheering for the Brazilian star in this bout. Torres Finney, who is a UFC middleweight fighter, shared his excitement for this fight. He praised the skills of both fighters, but Finney believes Alexander Volkanovski is more likely to regain his featherweight belt against Lopes on April 12th.
Great fight. Man. So Diego has problems usually after that second round. He slows down. Volkanovski, in fights like that, he picks up. Now, this also comes to the degree, is Diego going to be able to touch the chin of Volkanovski in that pack? I don't know. And we're also seeing an Alex Volkanovski with a full camp right now. So, and he's taking some time off since last year, since Taporia. I'm going to lean Volkanovski. I'm going to go Volkanovski on this.
So this is all we have from today's video, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. Share your predictions for the Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes fight in the comments section. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get instant notifications about our latest videos.